Hey guys, um, first patch notes video by me. We're going to be doing a SMITE Patch 4.14. A couple days late, I'm aware, but better late than never, right? Why am I doing patch notes? I mean, they're up. You could just go read them yourself. I'm going to be talking about maybe what effects they might have in game. Not necessarily for high level, pro, grandmaster, and also not necessarily for low silver exclusively. Kind of both. Maybe if it will affect it at all or if it won't. Some changes, like you'll see an Osiris change, that won't really matter for low levels but will matter for high levels. They even talked about that in the VOD, but maybe you don't watch the VOD. So anyways, yeah, let's just jump into the patch notes. New God, I'm going to come back to her. I'll talk about her at the end. New God skins, they're all cool. Let's listen to let's card art. Short scientist dude, cool looking. Voice pack,
You just got lasered!
pretty good evil scientist laugh if you ask me. Naja skin, definitely Tron. They even said it in the VOD. They're just asking to get sued at this point.
Dear haters, I couldn't help but notice that awesome ends with me, and ugly starts with you.
Actually a pretty good taunt, if you ask me. Pretty nice voice line. Wheelix, I'm actually pretty excited for this one. I remember voting for it, and this is the one I voted for, so happy days. Card art. I really like how Suku turned out, and that they made him talk was actually really cool. I don't know if it's in the voice back here.
Make sure you tell the heavens I said hello.
Opwatch. Nobody plays Opwatch, but it's a cool skin. The pigs are actually really cool, especially in game. They like run on their hind legs before they fall down.
Piggy for you!
Okay. The Morgan, SBF 666. Upside down pentagram, pretty cool. Two of them. The Seagull looking real creepy like. So yeah, nice. The tattoos look really good on this as well.
We never understood Tannen. Why would you let the sun roast you to a crisp for fun?
Alright, Terra skin. I think it looks super cool, especially if you're a tier 2. The crystals that come out when you have something up, like it's actually a super nice indicator for her passive. Because if she has one out, she can't get knocked up, right? And those only come out when she has a stone up. So it's really cool to see her passive in game, and with how bright these crystals are, it's a really good indicator. I like it. No voice pack, tier 2. Cuckoo Lane. I still don't know how to pronounce that. Irish guy. The mustache looks super good in this card art, color and everything, but it looks not as good in game. I'm gonna be honest there. So, Cupid Mastery skins. He was solid bar of gold and diamond and stuff before, and now he actually has a face, a human face, so that's good. I like that they're changing all their old ones to that. Dance emote. Probably look cool. They didn't show them on the VOD, so I don't know what they look like, but Project Olympus. Ranked updates. Definitely needed. The planning phase won't do much for PC, I don't think. You can just type what you want. But on console, especially if you don't have a keyboard connected to your controller, this is going to be super important. And I played console, a SMITE console, for a long time. Well, I say long time, it was like 6 months, but compared to how long I played PC, it's a long time. And this is definitely needed. And I like that they took 30 seconds off planning phase or bank time, because longer ranked P&Bs is just not gonna suit the community, right? Matchmaking divisions. I like that. I mean, it didn't change anything. If you thought this changed something in how matchmaking works, you were incorrect. It didn't change a thing. All it did was it's going to show you more of what it's matchmaking you on, which is good. It's going to show you why matchmaking is terrible. It's not going to fix it, though. So, at least you'll know why, right? Leaderboard points. God leaderboards were terrible. Anyone who was hoping to get on them and was looking at them knew how terrible they were. And again, I don't think this changed anything. I think it's just more visible as to why you are ranked the way you are ranked. So being able to see why, it's still a good thing, but I don't think it changed them. Fantasy point tipping. You don't really earn that many fantasy points a game, so tipping a percentage of their earned FP from that game. It's cool. You could show someone that you thought they were good, but it's not gonna like be amazing. So it's cool, but it's not awesome. Fall split, of course, the Cupid skin gonna be included with it. Pretty cool. And then all the normal stuff. The bundle, which nobody really needs. Ticket rewards, cool. Naja skin, I like the Naja skin. Show it again. There you go. 2 recalls. I always like recall skins. I haven't seen either of them. Obviously, they didn't show them in the stream. And then the level up effects, I'm expecting to be cool. They seemed excited about it, but they couldn't show it because it wasn't ready. But it seems cool, so hooray. Soft reset, obviously, new split. MMR division adjustments. This was good. Conquest, it didn't really matter. Everything was based on Conquest already. I do not like Joust, and I didn't play a whole lot of Duel. I don't like the map that either of them are played on in general. I think it's just a kind of a bad map. But the people that did play those said that the matchmaking and the ranking up, getting TP and stuff was just terrible, especially at high levels. So it's good that they changed it and got those just for them. They definitely needed it. Another recall skin. That's 3 recall skins in 1 patch. I like recall skins, so I'm happy. 160 thing, hooray. New Phoenixes, I was not aware, being semi-newish to Smite, that respawn Phoenixes did less damage. So that's cool for me to learn. If you're like not paying attention to the game during the game, then it'd be cool. This would be useful. Or if you DC'd for like 5 minutes, your team took a Phoenix, it respawned, and then you reconnected, then this would be, I guess, useful. But I don't think it won't have any effect on gameplay, but whatever. Stone cutting sword. No one really cared. If you got the kill, then who really cares about the stack, right? But it's good that they fixed it. Athena description update, hooray. Item changes, 3 items and 1 relic. Changing today, well, Wednesday or Tuesday, I suppose. Bracer was too strong. Getting bursted for 100% of your, or 99% of your health, and getting 50% of it back was crazy. Especially if you're like a Hercules and you popped your 3 at the same time, you'd get 100% of your health back, and it was really frustrating for teams. Not that Hercules was in the meta a whole lot, but lower ranks, this definitely mattered. So, it was too strong overall. So, then good nerf. Atalanta's bow, I don't think this item will ever be picked up, except for on very specific characters, like Mercury, for example. It's not good enough. It doesn't provide the right stats, or it does, but they're not enough of them. You could just get a different item that's going to do more for you. An extra more movement speed is great if you are chasing someone, but it's really hard to chase someone and shoot them without the Fatalis effect. And if you don't have the Fatalis effect, extra movement speed is not going to really be useful, since you lose so much movement speed from the attacking movement penalty. I don't think this is ever going to be good. I don't think this ever is going to be in a place where people are going to be buying it. But we'll see, I guess. Demonic Grip. This is huge. So physical auto attackers always had Oboe for 40% attack speed, and magicals, especially after last patch, didn't really have anything that was like a huge burst of attack speed. 30%'s pretty good. It's pretty good, and lowering the price, pretty good as well. And magical power, most auto attackers don't really need a whole lot of power. Their auto attack scaling, like a soul, especially with her passive, she doesn't need a whole lot of power. She needs attack speed. And so lowering it and increasing the attack speed by double is huge. This is also a super good item on Freya. Earlier power spike, get her through the early game easier. This is a huge patch for Freya, by the way. Hastened Ring. This item was already good. People were getting it on Soul and Chronos and basically all of them. Freya. Not that people were already playing Freya, but 4 to 6. I mean, you could do a whole lot in 4 seconds, but you have 6 seconds now, which is basically half of a team fight. So you can win a team fight in the first half of a team fight. So this is pretty big. This is nice quality of life change. I think it's not like item changing awesomeness, but it's good. Obviously, lowering 5 seconds. God changes. I believe there's 6 God changes. Onher's been struggling, especially since people are saying that it's a late game meta, and that's kind of true. I mean, it's easier to get to late game because the Phoenixes and the tier 2 tower healths and all that. And Onher was really good in the snowball meta because, I mean, he snowballed really well. So after they kind of took out the snowball meta, which was good, but it hurt Onher, so giving him a little bit of a buff. This is nice, but it's not like crazy. You didn't use his jump in for damage a whole lot of the time. You used it for the CC or to get away. So this is nice, but it's not super amazing. This is pretty big. You can use your ult a lot more freely to secure oracles early game or something. You can use it because it's going to be up real quick. His ult was not on a long cooldown anyways. 90 seconds is not like one of the longest cooldowns. So lowering it by this much is going to be, I think it's pretty big. So, Kernanos. I have been saying for a while that Kernanos is still too strong. Obviously, he wasn't overpowered as overpowered as he was on release, but he's still too strong. He does too much. The big change I think is Horn Charge, but before I get to that, Shifter Seasons decreased power scaling again. I believe it was 15, and then they brought it down to 10, and now they're bringing it down to 5 because late game, with the power builds coming around right now, well, they're kind of leaving right now, but before with like Shifter Shield and like just high power builds, this was hitting really hard, especially late game. And with his base attack speed, it was hitting a lot of the time really hard. So, good change. Again, Horn Charge, though, is the big one, especially for early game. If you were standing right next to someone, like level 5, you could burst them down from like 100% to 30% in 2 basic attacks, a charge, and a 2. Because his passive is cleave, does extra damage, and then you dash through him with this, but you don't have to dash very far, so it takes almost no time. And then you attack him again, cleave damage again, and then your 2, and then the dot damage, and it was too strong. It was too strong. So lowering that, especially because you could also use this to clear if you really were desperate. So lowering his clear on it as well. I think it's just a good change. I think it's the biggest change of these 3, and I think it's a good change. Cooldown on his ult. I don't think this will make a whole lot of difference. His ult was not one that you like spammed off cooldown, like a Neath ult or something. It was more one that you used at the right time, and so it was usually off cooldown for more than 10 seconds when you used it anyways. So there are some cases where this will happen, especially if you're like facing an on her. This is huge, but yeah, you didn't use it off cooldown anyway, so increasing the cooldown by a little bit is not going to be huge. Freya, like I said, a big Freya patch. Base attack speed 95.95 to 1, not a huge change, but when you take into account the change to demonic grip from 15% to 30% attack speed, this is just going to this is a bigger change than it looks like. So that's a pretty big change. Pulse base damage from 20 to 30 early game. That's pretty big because her biggest weakness obviously was her early game, her clear. So this will just help her get through early game easier, safer. So I mean, getting Freya through early game was always the struggle with Freya. If you got Freya at a late game, you were golden. So this is just going to make it easier. Hooray. Osiris. I mentioned Osiris at the very beginning about how this is going to have a change at the high levels, but not at the low levels. Judgment Tether. At the low levels, if you walked at someone and tethered them, they would just run away. They wouldn't even try to damage you. There's no Cyrus running at you and they're scared. Higher levels, if he was running at you and he tethered, you also kind of had to run away, because if you tried to deal damage to him, it was almost futile, unless there were like 3 people there doing it. So if he just ran at a mid lane mage and there was no peel, then the mid lane mage was kind of just dead. This is going to make him feel a lot more fight intoable, if that makes sense. If he runs at you and tethers you, you feel like you can fight him still. It's not like, because 20% damage reduction is insane. Like on a Scylla or something, especially late game, 20% of your damage is a lot of damage. So if this is no longer here, you can still fight into him. You can root him and crush him, and he will actually take full damage from that, outside of his passive and all that. So you could just fight into him easier. So this is a big change, but not for lower levels. It won't do anything there. Raijin, last patch he got a change which can only be described as weird. He was underperforming, and so they nerfed his 3, they nerfed his 2, and I think that was it. Oh, they changed his passive a little bit. Charge tempo, increase cooldown from 1 to 2. That's cool. That's cool. His passive after the change last time, it felt a little weak, so that's good. Percussive Storm. Percussive Storm now pierces enemy gods. This one's pretty big. I wasn't around when Raijin was considered OP, back when he had too much damage. But a lot of people said that one of the ways to play around his too much damage was at level 1 to just stand in front of the wave, so that he couldn't clear very well. So taking that outplay is just fine. I mean, he's underperforming so badly, so he needs this for sure. Specifically this one. So the slow on his ult always felt really weird to me. If I was chasing someone, I felt like I could never ult because then I would just like stand still basically. 40% slow is really slow, especially early game. If you like have tier 2 boots, this was crazy slow. Lowering it to 20, great change. The Morgan, this last LAN in Valencia, the Morgan was played to her highest yet. She was played so well at that LAN, and part of that was because of her stealth. So they hit that because there were multiple fights where the Morgan, forget who was playing her, but would, like right before a fire giant fight, would just stealth, walk straight through the whole team, kill the mid lane mage from the other team, and then it was a 4v5, and they just washed over the other team. It was really bad. Having a mid lane that could just walk at people and they just don't see you, obviously, that's, I mean, and as an escape, 8 seconds, if you stealth at the enemy mid tower tier 1, you can get well behind your tier 1 before you unstealth. That's a little bit too far, especially with her movement speed buff when she's stealth. So nerfing this was definitely a thing that they needed to do, and that was shown at the LAN. Mana cost 70 to 60. I think that's a reversion of a change that they did. I felt like it didn't used to always be 70 at all ranks. Might be wrong there. 60 to 80, not a huge change, but if you want longer stealth, you have to spend more mana to do it. Cool. That's not really going to affect late game. It's just going to be kind of a mid-game change if you want to max your stealth second after you're clear, but not very many people do that anyways. I guess it depends on who they're facing and gods they can change into and all that, but generally you max your 1 and your 2 on Morgan. So this isn't going to be huge. So, alright, there's the patch, except for RTO. So this is where my inexperience in Smite, having only been here about 6 months, is going to show a little bit, because I was not here for Hell or Uller, either of their releases. Those being the other 2 stance changers. I don't know how they were received at release by the community. I don't know if they were considered OP, or if people thought that not having an ultimate would hurt them too much, or in the other direction, if having 6 abilities would be too powerful. I did do some research on their updates on their change logs on the wiki. Looks like Hell got quite a few nerfs, but she was back in beta, so a lot of gods were probably changed a lot. Uller, it looks like, got some nerfs, but they weren't like big nerfs. Couple of them, multiple times he got his 1 projectile speed reduced, which is not a huge nerf, but I mean, it's a nerf. So, and I didn't see very many buffs for either of them. Hell's rework was a kind of a buff, but she's weird. I always think that Hell is gonna do better than she does because of her AoE beads, basically. I think that's a super strong super strong ability. But it's so easy to just shut it down by CCing Hell as well, or just Hell first. So she's weird, obviously, but we're talking about RDO. A lot of people feel like she's OP. Feel like she's extremely strong, but there's not outplay potential, but she'll be able to be played around if you have the right team comp, but I feel like it's going to be too hard and too hard to get the right team comp and too easy to ban it out if you do happen to get RTO. And it's going to force whoever's picking second to ban RTO. The first team doesn't need to ban her because they'll just pick her, right? Kind of the old Ratatasker thing. But okay, skins first. I think she looks super cool. They talked about putting clothes on the bear in the stream. I think it's a very good decision not to do so. The bracelets are cool because I mean those are huge bracelets either way, but they're cool. They're distinctive. The hair, slightly different color, but that might just be the light in this. They look pretty similar in the stream. The green eyes. Green's one of my favorite colors, so green eyes is awesome. They also talked about how they wanted to put like a bunch of clothes on RTO to make her look like a guardian. I don't know if they accomplished that, but she looks super cool. The blue on the green and just RTO is one of the coolest looking gods that they've released in a while, in my opinion. So yeah, her staff looks awesome too. Let's go down to this one. The golden bear on this one looks so freaking good. I mean, RTO looks awesome too, but I think the highlight of this one is the bear, the golden bear. So yeah, just 3 color there. All right. As for abilities, her passive I feel like is a really weird passive for a guardian to have. It's like the opposite of a Sobek passive, right? Sobek gains protections, whereas RTO removes protections from others, which I don't know. I just think it's weird. Guardians are usually focused on gaining protections or giving protections to their teammates, unless you buy like a Void Stone or like a Spear of the Magus or something. But I don't know, I think it's weird, especially since it's percent protection decrease. 8 times. I mean, that's less than like a Titan's Bane or an Ob Shard, but it's not nothing. It's not a little bit. It's a lot of protections late game. Her first ability, you definitely don't want to group up for if you're on the other team, because that's an insane heal. If you hit like 3 people and it's rank 3, that's 300 plus 25 or plus 75. That's a pretty big heal for everyone in the area, including herself. Damage, hooray! It's more damage than healing, I guess, but it's about the heal, I think. Cost of scaling, whatever. The bear, this does huge amounts of damage, especially since it hits twice. 110 plus 35 is a decent amount of damage for a guardian, and then it hits twice. So this is quite a damaging ability. It is on a 10-second cooldown as well, I believe. Same cooldown for both. The vines, everyone's talking about the AoE cripple that just like moves with her, which is crazy. And area duration, I heard, this was just in a Twitch chat, so it's not confirmed, but I heard this was already nerfed from 6 to 8 to 4 to 6 with the same like scaling up. So if that's true, then I mean it's better. But then I think a thing that a lot of people are overlooking decreases their magical or physical power if they're in the area, which 25% is crazy. This is kind of what we were talking about with Osiris, how it was really hard to fight into the ability. I think that this will probably just get straight up removed later. But we'll see, I guess. We'll see how long it takes for them to do that. So yeah, I think that part is super strong as well. The cripple obviously super strong, but like Gem of Isolation does not work on it. You have to deal damage for Gem to proc, and it doesn't deal damage. So, but I mean, you could just dash at them, or use your 2, or not your 2, or your 1, or your other 1. There's lots of ways to proc Gem, but this is not one of them. Anyways, the roar, the stun, I think she needed it. She doesn't really have a whole lot of hard CC. Sorry about that. So I think she needed the stun, or a root or something, but stun's fine. Especially a stun that only lasts for 1.4 seconds. Increases their own physical and magical protections for 4 seconds. It's like Mantle of Discord, right? Does that increase your protections when it procs? I don't remember. Some protections, hooray. It's not a huge amount, so it's not going to make her unkillable when she uses it, but it's something. Her third ability, Life Tap. This is also an interesting item. I compare it to like a Nike Rend, where the last one disarms. Forgot the word there for a sec. And I think that each hit increasingly slows enemies hit all 5 times are rooted for 1 second. Oh, and enemies hit all 5 times are rooted for 1 second. I think this would be fine if the area that it affects enemies in wasn't so large. And the fact that it's AoE and you can hit multiple people with it, meaning you can root multiple people with it if they're foolish enough to stand in it, is pretty good. Especially since it heals and deals damage. Yeah, it's a super good ability. Second time I've done that. It does take a while for you to channel, two whole seconds, and I don't know if you can cancel that. I'm assuming you can. And the cooldown being 15 seconds, but basically 7.5 since well, I mean it's 15, but she has another ability on the same spot because stance change, so 7.5. The other ability, the charge lasts for a long time. Charges forward at an increased movement speed. I have not found anywhere where it tells me what the increased movement speed is. It just says increased, and it is, but it doesn't look like it's all that much, but it's definitely a dash. So, yeah, they take damage. Hooray! 50%, decent scaling rate, pretty high base, normal for Guardian. Slowed for 2 seconds, up to 30%, which is a pretty big slow, especially for 2 seconds. So, and it goes through gods. You don't stop on one. So again, AoE. I mean, I'm pretty sure every single ability she's got is AoE. So don't group up. I mean, that's just kind of a general rule anyways, but especially against RTO, don't group up. Druid stance, bear stance, yeah. This description is, I think, typoed. Increasing movement speed and MP5 by 5 per stack, but then down here it says movement speed per stack is not 5, even at max rank, and MP5 per stack is not 5. It's in the spectrum of 2 to 10, but it's not there. So I think this is a typo here. 8 times 4 seconds. Pretty good passive on it. I will say that if you use the life tap here for 2 seconds, it only procs on the first hit of it. So you're sitting there for probably 1.7 seconds or so where you're not procking it. And it's only with abilities, so basic attacks do not refresh it. So if you use this in the middle of stacking this all the way up to 8, you're going to have a decently short window to refresh it. But also she has 5 other abilities, so I don't think you're going to have an issue with that. But it's there. It's a short-ish window. And then cooldown 1 second, because it's a shapeshifter. Or a stance changer, technically. Yeah, that's the god. I think she's extremely strong. I think her 2, this one is, I think this is what a lot of people are not talking about. Again, I don't think it's going to have a big change at the lower end, or change. I don't think it's going to have a big effect in the lower end. I think people, if they see an RTO with cripple up, they're just going to run. Like you run from a Poseidon Whirlpool, right? Higher levels, this power debuff is going to be a big deal, I think. Especially 25%. She has no issues early game, but her late game is going to be super strong, I think. 30% slow, 25% power debuff, and percent damage, or percent protection decrease, stacks up to 8 times. Yeah. She's going to be really strong, especially late game. But we'll see. Like I said, I've never been here for a stance changer, but she seems real strong. Not necessarily super overpowered, but definitely super strong. So, yeah, that's going to be patch notes for me, guys. Have a good day.